UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Infinite diversity.
Live long and prosper, and welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast, here on the United Federation of Podcast Network. I'm your host for today, Chrissie, and join with me are my co-hosts Justin and Brandon. So, Justin, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. I know you guys live in colder climates, so you'll probably scoff at what I'm about to say, but it has started snowing here. We have a couple inches on the ground. It's a little more unusual in El Paso, Texas. It's more like once every year or two. So it's cold out, relatively cold outside. I'm sure it's colder where you guys are, but it warms my heart that you guys are here and for the special guest that we'll be introducing in a few moments. So I'm feeling warm even though it's cold outside.
Brought that around very well. I like that.
I practiced it in my head and it worked. That's good.
Yeah. All right, Brandon, how about you? How are you today?
I'm doing okay. I was a little bit frightened at first. I mean, this boat, I'm in the middle of the ocean here and I'm in this boat. It's really small and there's this frickin' tiger in the boat with me here. So, you know, it's a little bit frightening, but I'm okay and I'm happy to be here nonetheless.
Wonderful. And I will expect some questions in our main segment about the thing you are referring to.
All right. Well, that goes very well into introducing our guest today, Adil Hussain, who plays Lieutenant Sahil in Discovery Season 3. Welcome to Infinite Diversity, and thank you for joining us.
Infinite Diversity, thank you very much for inviting me. Very glad to be here. And I hope that whoever would be listening to this conversation would have a good time. I hope so, too. Yep.
They will. All right. So before we jump into our interview, we just have one piece of news, a bit of sad news that Christopher Plummer, the man who played Chang, died on February 5th. He was 91, and he was pretty active right up to the end. So for me, I say if I can be half as good as that, I'm in good shape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's still sad to lose him.
Yeah. Star Trek 6 is like one of my favorite things of Star Trek. So, you know, to have him pass is very sad. And, you know, he's such an amazing talent. And what he brought to Star Trek with Chang, you know, is one of the most amazing characters in Star Trek. You know, he's definitely my favorite Klingon. And, you know, just the ideas that he brought in with he's like, I just want to have my head bald with this like weird little thing, just these little ridges. Mm-hmm. You know, he didn't want the big ridges, and it just added to the character and contributed to the history of the Klingons.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that was sad news. I mean, he did live a long, full life, which is great, and had so many amazing performances, and of course, in particular relevant here, Chang in Star Trek 6, which is my favorite original series movie, one of my favorite Star Trek movies. So it's sad to see him pass, but we can kind of celebrate the performances that he gave us during his life. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let us talk to Adil about Star Trek and acting and all sorts of other interesting things. Justin, I think you had our first question.
Yeah. Adil, I have a question that I always like to ask people that join us for interviews. So tell us, how did your career in acting start?
Oh, dear. Long back, the word career doesn't sort of feel right to me. It doesn't feel right at all because it just, I wasn't looking at acting as a career. I just fell in love with acting, and it's the way I look at it. It's my life, and more than my life. In fact, I consider acting is truer than life because I am more attentive, I'm more alert, I'm more concentrated, I'm more focused, I'm more aware when I act. And so that is almost like living fuller life than I would actually live my everyday life. And so it's my path towards in Indian context, if I say, I would say salvation. It started at the age of 8, and I continued to act every year in the school plays. And then at the age of 13, I felt that this is what I love to do. The crux of falling in love with acting was when I did my first play. It was a half-an-hour skit, and I came out of the stage. The play got over, and I asked my director that was it already half an hour, and she said yes. I said to her that, oh my God, it felt like 5 minutes. So I felt that magic happened. The time stood still for me, and I didn't see time passing. I felt that I didn't age. I did not, it was the only word that I can find is magical. And that experience I never had before, where time stood still. And later, of course, in my work, in my pursuit of acting, in the training process, in the plays that I did, after I continuously worked on and training the skills of acting in India and abroad, I had that that feeling, that amazing feeling of time standing still for several instances. And so I don't look at it as a career. It's more than my life. It's my way of life. And it started then, and it's just that it's blessing that I get paid in spite of doing what I love to do. It's very rarely happens to a lot of people that I know, my friends. Few of them, they earn their living or they get paid in spite of doing what they love to do. But most of my friends, they do to earn money, and on the side as a hobby, they do what they love to do. So yeah, it started long back in 1971 at the age of 8. I started. If that answers your question.
No, that's excellent. I mean, I love hearing the background, and I have to say, I think it's always wonderful when someone answers a question by questioning the premise of the question itself. So I do appreciate that. I love that you feel like it's different than a career. It's just a way of life, and something in there
Totally.
about, it being even more real than life, I think is just a wonderful image. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah.
Adil, what type of roles and plays did you like to do while in high school? When I was in high school, we did a lot of plays, and a lot of them were musicals. That's kind of just what they seemed to choose. Right. Did you guys do a lot of musicals there, or what kind of roles were you cast when you were in plays in school?
No, I did not. Musicals were not a tradition in the town that I grew up. We did a lot of absurd plays. Beckett was the fashion, and I grew up doing all these absurd plays. And though we had a lot of musical bands and folk theater, which are based on music and dance and all that, but the school that I studied, they did not entertain those forms of performances. So I grew up with a lot of absurd theater, and then, of course, when I joined the National School of Drama, which is in New Delhi, the capital city of India, there I was introduced to musical theater, and that too was from the folk forms of India. There are hundreds of folk forms in India. It's a huge country as the United States, and we have different hundreds of dance forms. And so I was introduced to that later, but initially, no, I did just well-made plays and local writers who would be inspired by these great writers from across the globe. And I was lucky enough to do that. Yeah.
That's fascinating that you're doing that in high school. Sorry, with the absurdist stuff, because I wasn't even aware of any of that until I went to college. But
Yeah, that's interesting because, like, I guess I haven't seen a lot of Indian cinema in my life. I watch a lot of world cinema, but I haven't seen a lot of Indian cinema. And, I guess I get the impression from what I see from photos and stuff online that there are a lot of Indian cinema that has a lot of, like, big musical numbers and stuff like that. Do you think that's a accurate impression of Indian cinema?
One section of, not one, a major section of the Indian cinema which are made in India are quite a bit of, it sort of resembles musicals, but those are not musicals. There are a lot of songs, and that's about it. Musicals are different. If you compare which are being made in the Western countries, musicals, which we call musicals like Jesus Christ Superstar or, Cat or all those musicals. No, not like that.
Hamilton.
Yes, or Matilda or, La Miserable or, no, not like that at all. So there will be 5 to 6 songs in an Indian Bollywood film, as they say in India. But there is a huge amount of cinema films which are being made across the country. We have around 32 or 34 states, and most of the states, they produce their own films. Those are known nowadays independent films.
Okay.
And realistic independent films, meaningful cinema or art house cinema that we call. Most of them, they don't have songs. There could be music unless, someone chooses to make a musical. No. That's one major section of films which are being made, major part of films which are being made in Bombay. That's why the word Bollywood comes in, because the film industry, Hindi film industry, I would say, but there are like 22 official languages that films are being made in India.
Oh, wow.
Some of them do have songs and dance and all that, but that's also influenced by the folk theatre form. And we have lots of songs and dances also in the musical theatrical performances as well. So influenced by that, the films obviously would have those kind of genre, if I may say, where the songs are being prioritized and they sing. But the interesting part is that most of the musicals that I saw from the West, I guess all the musicals that I saw, including the last one with Lady Gaga and the other actor, Star is Born. I forgot the name of the male actor. They sing themselves. But in India, there is this concept of playback singing. So they don't actually sing. They just sync the lips. So it's very, very strangely done. But people love it, and yeah.
Yeah. It's great to hear about all that, Adil, because I have seen some of what would be called the Bollywood movies, because that's kind of what I'm aware of, but I'm not aware of like all of this other stuff, because I think that those kind of big production musical type films are the ones that tend to have more distribution or get more attention here, like in North America. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, and don't get a lot of foreign language films here.
It's true. It's unfortunate that
you got to go looking for them. Yeah,
I can recommend a few, and you can watch it. There's some amazing films which are being made. Small film. When I say small in terms of budget, it's not big scale, Hollywood scale or Bollywood scale film, but very, very well made films which are being made in India as well. Yeah.
Excellent. I mean, maybe that transitions to a question that I had, which is, I know you have worked on productions in India for, I think, films at least. So I'm just curious, since you've worked in the industry there and in North America, like how it's different between those two.
Well, the fundamental difference that I find is the planning and execution, the precision of execution, and the planning and the meticulousness in planning. And that I find very, very attractive because I'm a very punctual guy, and I reach on time on the set, and and then which is it should be very normal, but it isn't here. Probably because philosophically, every Indian probably believes that there is another life to come. We take birth, and there's this. I don't know. I'm just making this up, but this is the only thing that that could explain the attitude. Attitude of like, okay, it's okay, no problem. If it doesn't work, we'll do it again. So the drive, the strive for excellence is not really what I see when I act in the films which are being made here. Apart from very few, there are definitely quite a few which are new age and the new generation of directors, those who are, say, 28, 24, 25 years old. I have acted with lots of first-time filmmakers, and they're extremely influenced by the work ethics of the Western countries in terms of its meticulousness and precision of planning and execution. But generally, it's very slow. Generally, it's very, I don't know what could be the word that I could use which would really describe it.
It sounds relaxed. Is that
it's relaxed. But the disadvantage of that is that you end up producing a lot of mediocre, work. And the advantage is that you don't fret so much, and that you suffer from, oh God, this did not happen. And so you're pretty relaxed that way. The advantage of the Western production that I acted in is that quite often the benchmark is very, very high, and you end up making something which is very of high standard. And the disadvantage is that they go mad, and like, oh my God, this did not happen, and we want it on time, and So, and then I had to come in and say, it's okay, it's not the end of the story, there could be another story. So that's very funny and very interesting for me.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective.
Well, that brings us to the next question here. How did you end up landing the part of Sahil on Discovery?
All right. So I had been, I have an agent in LA since last 6 or 7 years. And she was pretty disappointed with me because I did not respond to her audition requests. She would send me pieces and I'm like, I'm busy with Indian films. I cannot prepare tomorrow and send you an audition piece recorded here. So she questioned my sort of intention, do you really want to act in Hollywood? I'm like, I am interested, but I'm not desperate. It's a huge difference between these two. Unless there is a good role and something that I really love to do, I'd rather act in an independent art house film where I don't get paid much, but it's a fantastic role and I love it and I can put my heart and soul into it because I love it. Then I was in LA, I was in Atlanta shooting for an a film produced by the same producers who produced Crazy Rich Asian. I don't know whether you've heard about this film.
Oh, yeah.
So they're producing. Yeah. So the producers of that film was producing this film, and I was acting in that film. And my agent calls me and says, there's this audition. I will send you the script, not the script, but the scenes. Would you mind auditioning? I said, it's from Star Trek. I said, if I like the scenes and the character, I will audition for it. So this is exactly the phone that I used to audition. I asked my wife to say the lines from the other side of the phone, and my brother-in-law, he held the camera, and I loved the scene. As you all know, you have seen the scene, and I just loved the scene. It was like, oh my God, this is such a beautiful character. It's a great opportunity for an actor to do something which is sort of it's like a bonsai. How do you say bonsai or bonsai?
Mm-hmm. Bonsai.
Yeah. I think so.
It's like a bonsai which is concentrated and condensed of his 40 years of struggle being alone there and his future. It's like condensed into a sort of it's almost ready to burst open kind of a character. So I didn't know how to do it. And that's what interests me the most. Like, I don't know how to play something, and would I be able to play it? And I prepared for like 1.5 days because she wanted the audition then within 2 days. I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And I sent it to her. And then I guess within a week's time, she called me back and said that you got it. I was like, oh, great.
Cool.
And that was it, basically. Yeah.
All right.
I got a question about the character. I'm wondering if you can tell us, why do you think that Sahil has resonated with so many Star Trek fans? And do you think that it's because of something to do with where we are now? Or do you think that this character would have resonated with Star Trek fans had he shown up in this scene at any time in the history of Star Trek?
I think both at the same time, because also the fact that the way we were confined for such a long time because of the pandemic. And also, I think Sahil is the personification, of an epitome of the personification of what Star Trek stands for, and what Star Trek, propagates through these various characters from across the universe, which is a metaphor definitely for, planet Earth. I think that all kinds of people from all kinds of tribes and countries and political, ideological backgrounds and all kinds of differences that we generally apparently feel, and all the politicians who generally propagate differences rather than unity. So Sahil is that dedicated ideal of a character who embodies the depth of the value of Star Trek, and which is why I think I love Star Trek. And quite often, most of the responses that I got from across the globe who watched it, and they actually said this as well, that this is the ideal of Star Trek, who just works no matter whether, and which is also very Indian, in the crux of Indian philosophy, that you never work for a reward. You just work because you love to do it. And that is one of the greatest element of practicing integrity as a human being. One of the highest ideals, according to me. There are these amazing characters in Indian mythology called Krishna, and he proposes to his disciple that you just work and that's about it. Never expect anything in return, and you will be happy. And that's what he did. It's a very difficult thing to do unless you have practiced something and we have some tools in your disposal where you would practice it and you keep your inner core calm and retain that integrity and just keep working for 40 years. And then it happened. And then Michael Burnham walks in, with David. And that is one of the, I think it's like, it's sort of is an example of that, that we all celebrate the word hope, especially in today's world. And maybe in the dark times, in the dark ages, also we did that, and one of the most important element which always had touched my heart and moved me deeply when I see people coming together, people reconciling and coming together, and they hug each other and they meet each other and they forget and they forgive, always warmed my heart, always brought tears in me when I saw that in films or even in family, small scale family or huge conflicts which are happening between the countries or all that. It always moved me. And I think Sahil embodies that in every sense of the word, coming together, the hope and integrity and dedication.
I want to say a few things because the character made a big impact on me as well. And I rewatched all the scenes, and it's 6 or 7 minutes of screen time. It's a relatively small amount compared to the whole
Very
season,
small, yeah.
but you did make a big impact. And for me personally, I think that the character would have made a big impact if it would have been anywhere in Star Trek, but it was there was something above and beyond what would usually happen because of what we were going through in 2020, not only with the pandemic, which affected so many things, but also here in the United States, we were dealing with the mismanagement of that pandemic and all of the stuff that Trump was doing that was just infuriating to a lot of us in the US. And so when this episode premiered, that first episode, first of all, it was on my birthday, so it was a great birthday present when it premiered.
Oh, really?
But yeah, It really was. But also, so we'd been going through that, and then a couple of weeks later, there was going to be an election, and we didn't know what was going to happen. Things are very unpredictable, right? And so as I was watching this, I was thinking, they've gone to this future where so much has been destroyed that we love as Star Trek fans, and things are so fragmented and fractured. But here is this person who has kept the faith. I mean, not only him, but his father and grandfather and all of that are kind of keeping on this tradition of these values. And Sahil is there day after day believing. And as you said, not worried about what the reward is, but this is what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to keep doing it. And then Burnham appears, and it's the way that you act it with how much it means to him. It just feels so genuine for that kind of expression. And there was just something that very much touched me in this very dark place. And then kind of going to the end of the season, I talked about it on this program as well. That episode aired the day after in the United States, we had, a group of Trump supporters basically attack the Capitol and threaten all of our representatives that were there who wanted to certify the election. So then seeing this episode after that, which also is so hopeful, and you see Sahil as lieutenant and all of that. For me, it just embodied helping me to get through this difficult time, feeling hope, and then feeling going forward, no matter how difficult or dark things may be, there is always hope and you can always move forward. So it was very personally meaningful for me because I was feeling some very difficult things during that time. I just want to thank you for, that performance, and that they brought you back even for the last episode. I think I heard you on another podcast saying you filmed for about an hour for that short scene, and they going all the way from India, right? But I'm so glad that they did that, and that you were there for that. So anyway, that's just my way of saying, thank you for that. And it meant a lot for me. And I think in those episodes, it's called That Hope Is You, and it's supposed to be Burnham as the hope, which I think is true. But for me as a fan also, it's Sahil that is the hope, the person that's been through all of that difficulty, all of that time that a lot of the people on Discovery have just kind of skipped past, right? So anyway.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Justin, because I was going to ask too. I'm did they film all of your scenes at once for both episodes? It's interesting that they flew you all the way back just for that.
They did, yeah.
So I'm curious if we kind of go back to the first episode. So, and I rewatched it today just to refresh myself what happened. So pretty much right at the beginning of the episode, there's this montage of Sahil kind of waking up every day, getting ready, going to the desk and just kind of waiting there. And I thought that was just such a intriguing and beautiful thing when you see it at the beginning, what is this all about? And it kind of connects back at the end. But I'm just curious for kind of your role in that episode, what your process was to kind of prepare for that, and how it was actually shooting that episode.
Well, I just had one clue, and I generally used to be a very fanatic method actor, and then I gave it up in 2012. I found another way because it became very torturous for me to remain a method actor, and I made other people's lives miserable around me. So I didn't.
Adil, sorry, for those who may not be familiar with it, can you talk about what method acting is, or what its philosophy
Method acting is generally described as follows: that you stay and you use your past experiences, which are very, very strong emotional experiences, and you stay there and you as you identify certain experiences which is similar to the role that you're playing, and then you stay there during the entire period, and you go back home after the shoot or before you even come to the shoot, and you stay in that, which is sort of a traumatic experience for a lot of actors, and I've seen in myself as well, and how I had behaved with my girlfriends then when I was not married. And I played Othello for 10 years.
Oh wow.
On the stage, and that wasn't very, very funny thing for my wife. And so
it's a very intense role.
Very intense play, and we traveled across the globe and come back home, and I'm like in that mode, and it sort of felt like a burden on my shoulder. I'm like, I want to enjoy acting, and acting should be fun, though I might go through traumatic times while I'm performing, but that traumatic experience should cleanse me ideally, and not smear me with the darkness that I express, or not stain me with the darknesses that I express. So I found another way. Thankfully, my teachers came to help me out with that. And I found it's a very Indian way. And it's a long discussion if you go. In fact, HarperCollins had asked me to write a book on that, which I'm about to do maybe after a few years, 2-3 years. I'm planning to write a book on that. When I read Sahil, the script, as you have seen, it's that much is written. There is no background. There's nothing apart from few clues which are written into the dialogues. So I had to sort of, take those words and build on that. So I thought that since the character could have been from anywhere, any part of the world, but they chose South Asian Indian, and Aditya Sahil, the name itself is very Indian name, Sanskrit name, which is the ancient language from this part of the world, from India. So I somehow felt that this man who had been sort of trained by his grandfather when he was a kid, who is passed on certain tools, which are meditations, and who does practice that, and yoga and meditation and breathing practices, so that he can sustain his calmness for a long time. And there is no other way for him to retain his sanity in a small little place, and he is there alone waiting. Anybody would go nuts and crazy. So what are the things that he must have done in order to retain his sanity all these years? So that was the only, and I am a meditator since last 20 years, and I practice certain tools. And so I thought, okay, so I have the experience, and I know how it feels when I'm shaken or when I'm destabilized by the onslaught of, all kinds of attacks, as emotional or political or social attacks from, outside. And the tools that I practice, which sort of helps me to keep myself calm, and so that would be the fundamental basis for this role. And I took that as a clue. And then when I performed or rehearsed with Michael Burnham, Sonequa, she did the job for me, and she is, I think, one or two the most generous actor that I've ever met. She is amazing.
I've heard that from so many people that have worked with Sonequa Martin on Discovery.
I cannot praise her enough for that. My gratitude for her and the way she received me. I'm a nobody knows me in the West. Apart from the fact that I did Life of Pi and a few more films which are long back. But she was the one who instantly made me feel comfortable. She came and hugged me the first time I met, and she said, "Oh, I'm looking forward to working with you, Adil. I said, "Yeah, this is such a beautiful scene." And And so I didn't have to really act. I just had to be there and respond to her. I have my backstory. I know what this guy has gone through, Aditya Sahil, for a long time. And I just had to look at her eyes and things happened. And that's organicity. And I think that's most probably touched people. And credit goes to her and Olatunde, Mr. Ola, who's the director. And he just let me be. Didn't direct me at all, that's fantastic. I think casting is one of the most important thing in any good film. That casting should resolve the problem of acting at least 70%. That this is the actor, he's going to bring in something, on his own or on her own. And Michael Sonekwa has already proved it for 2 seasons, and I didn't know her at all personally. I saw the seasons and I saw something in her which is beautiful, which is graceful, which is, you can see, because you cannot hide yourself, no matter how good you are an actor, which is within you. It's very, very evident when I saw her that, oh, she's a human being of a very high order. And that resolved my acting problem. So I would say 60% credit goes to Sonekwa, and I brought in whatever I had. I'm not trying to be modest here at all.
No, but it's wonderful because it seems like your philosophy is just trying to be yourself and have an understanding of the character and just go. Yeah, absolutely. Which is wonderful. Yeah.
That's a good way to do it. All right, so there was a serious outpouring of love for the character. Did you have any expectations for how people might react, or did you just say, I'm putting this out here and people will think what they think?
No, I did not at all. But I just got a clue when I finished the shoot, the first 2 episodes. Second episode, I was just there for a few seconds. The DOP, who I was having lunch with, and he was sitting beside me and he said, do you know what's going to happen to you? I'm like, no, I don't. The scenes that you have done, people they would love you. I'm like, I have no clue what I've done because I don't see, I always try to forget. Okay, this is what I've done and I don't want to think about it because if I think about it, I'll not be able to sleep at night and I'll find hundreds of flaws and I'm like that. I'm like, oh God, well, I should have done better and all that, Mm-hmm. So those words sort of came back to me when I started receiving all these tweets and Instagram messages and Facebook messages, literally thousands and thousands of them. So I was, then I also realized that how much the Star Trek fandom, they're dedicated to this amazing phenomenon called Star Trek and why they are dedicated to that. So that, and what this person was trying to tell me about it. And so I was very moved and touched and overwhelmed as well at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Can only imagine.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you that's outside of Star Trek here from a friend of mine. His name is Manish Mithor, and he has a podcast called It Pod to Be You, which deals mostly with romantic comedies and whatnot. That's his podcast that he does. But he wanted to ask about working with, I hope I'm saying this right, Sridevi in the movie English Vinglish.
Okay.
So he said that's one of her last leading roles before she died in 2018. Can you talk about working with her? She's a legend not only in Hindi movies but all over India.
Oh yes, I would say that she was the only superstar in India because there are male superstars, there are female superstars, but she was sort of the superstar regardless of her gender. And she was an actor of very high caliber. I would say that had she been given scripts like what Meryl Streep gets, in the weakest part in Indian film industry is the script. Very, very. I just wish that they write more interesting scripts and layered scripts and more complex scripts so that the actors are challenged and they don't know how to do it. Unfortunately, that's not the case. And so Sridevi was 300 films old when I met her, and I was 3 films old, when we worked together.
I like talking about the age in terms of the number of films.
Yeah, I like that.
No, age-wise, we are contemporary, and I saw her since she was 14 years old on the screen when I was 14 as well. So I had a crush on her, and then I became an actor, and I went to drama school, and then she disappeared from the film industry. She started raising her children, and then she came back, and I wasn't at all dreaming in my wildest dream that I would be asked to play her husband in that film. And when I was told, I was like, oh, that's very interesting. And and I remember watching one of her films called Sadma, means shock. And I couldn't eat for 2 or 3 days because of the impact of the film. She was fabulous in that. And so when I met her for the first time, I told her that you were the reason I couldn't eat for 3 days almost. My throat was dry because I was so shocked seeing you being shocked in the film, the story. And I was like, I think I was 17 years old, and I clearly remember how I felt. And she was so touched when I said that. And then we did this film, and I had no idea how the film will be taken by the Indian audience. It became a very, very, very popular film. And I was known throughout India because we started with that film. That film was so well received by the audiences across the country. We started in Toronto Film Festival, then we went throughout the world with that film. And India, it was very popular. So she is one of the, I would say, the most, talented actor, regardless of the gender. And had she gotten enough material to chew upon, written by great writers from the West, she would have been, getting Oscars quite often. But unfortunately, apart from very few films, one of them is the one that I acted in with her, were very well written. But most of the films are not well written. And she's very generous, kind, quiet. She doesn't talk much, but she listens so well. Her timing is amazing. Yeah. So I'm one of the lucky actors to have found, myself in front of these amazing actors, Sonekwa, Sridevi, and there are a few more. I'm one of the lucky actors. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you for answering that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's very interesting. Mm-hmm. So getting back to Sahil, so after the first episode where we see him at the beginning and he has this routine for the 40 years and we find out that at the end and he interacts with Burnham and Book at the end. And she says he's the acting communications officer, and he's very moved by that. So then we see Sahil a bit in a little montage at the start of the third episode, but then we don't see Sahil again until the season finale. Yeah, the last episode, right toward the end, where we find out he's a lieutenant, and that's a beautiful scene. I'm sure we'll talk about. But here's my question for you. Question for you is there something that you had kind of worked up in your mind for exactly what Sahil is doing from the time he sees Burnham at the beginning until the end? Because that's over a year, because between the first and second episode, there's a year that passes until Discovery comes by, and then there's some more time until they get to the end of the episode. So have you thought about what he was doing during this year plus?
No, I did not, because I was busy shooting a lot of other films.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I didn't even know I was going to come in the last episode. That was a decision. That decision was taken much later. I didn't even know I will be coming in the last episode at all. I was not told. So I did not think about it. So when I was told, I was like, oh, okay. So what might have happened? Then I read all the episodes, because they kept sending me the episodes, which because I'm in the mailing list, so I kept receiving the scripts. I'm like, oh, this has happened to them. What was I doing then? So I might have been just being, there, and then finally this had happened, and okay, so he comes back, he was rescued or he was brought in, and then I'm given this commission. I'm now the lieutenant. Okay, so it's not very difficult to imagine what might have happened. But no, I was really busy with other things in my life, and I was shooting for other films.
That's fair. It's something that's come into my head because, I mean, you may know this, but there are novels that come out, original novels with original stories based on the shows, and there have been some around Discovery, and there's going to be one in May written by an author the three of us hosts really enjoy, Una McCormack, called Wonderlands, which is about the year between the end of that first episode and the start of the second episode when Burnham finally connects with Discovery. I'm hoping that somewhere in there, which Brendan predicted there would be that kind of novel. But what I'm hoping is, even if there's a little bit in the beginning that Sahil is in this book and we get a little bit more with him, and I'll say we love reading these novels. If that happens, I will, contact you and let you know what Sahil's role is in this book, if there is one. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, I hope so.
But for us, it's a wonderful thing that kind of extends that universe that happens on screen, and we find out more of what happens and the things they don't have time for on screen. So I'm hoping that Sahil is in this book, even just a little bit.
Yep, absolutely. I would be happy to be there as well. I'm old enough now to accept life the way it comes, so I'm absolutely fine.
That's a good skill to have.
No, I had to learn the hard way. I had to really practice hard in order to be in a very, very comfortable place, to just, okay, this is what is happening. The misery and the joy, both are very important for every human being to grow, so we are above both, and that's one of the greatest lessons that one of the greatest saints in India, called Sri Aurobindo, who teaches that once you have gone beyond both, then you have reached somewhere. Otherwise, you're still human being. That means you're under construction. You are not yet a human being. Being is a present continuous tense.
Yes. So looking at that episode, looking at the scene where we're seeing Sahil go through his routine, a lot of that is very special effects heavy. How much of that were you playing against nothing? And how do you deal with that? And how are you directed in that?
See, it's very normal for a trained actor who had studied, acting very, very rigorously. Imagining things are the fundamental things in acting, especially those who have gone to drama school and all that. And quite a lot of it wasn't there. Yeah. I remember doing Life of Pi, and I had to. Have you seen Life of Pi? Any of you?
I have not. No.
Oh, sorry.
Well, that was a mistake on all of our parts.
Yes, so.
I would really, whenever you have time, please watch Life of Pi. It's one of the greatest movies ever made, I guess.
My sister loved it, and I remember her going scene by scene. So that might be why I didn't go watch it.
Yes. Yeah, please do. I think you would love it. You would love it. It's an amazingly beautiful movie.
I have read the novel, actually, and I've
yeah, but you would be very, very surprised that generally when a film is made based on novels, you always prefer the novel. Yeah. But this one is equally good. That's what the review is all over. So I had to work or act in front of these two little, those days, in VFX, they had this cruder, version of VFX that they would put a golden and a silver ball, stuck to two sticks, and they will hold, and that's the tiger. Mm-hmm. So, and you have to be scared or whatever. So this one was easier. So I was told to do this, as I lie down on the bed, And there was the bed. I can't pretend to lie down. I don't know how to levitate yet. So, though I come from the land of the yogas and yogis, but I don't know how to do that.
Maybe if you tried with that method acting a bit more, you could have been levitating by now.
I could have done it, yes. I wish I could. Maybe next life. I'm not in a hurry, as we believe back again. So, yes, a lot of it was a lot of imagination, and which is the fun part, I think. It keeps you engaged, and that's so beautiful as an actor, to be engaged and not allow any other thoughts which to come in and stir some emotions which are not required for the role. So you're engaged with several things. You have to stand here, I have to do this, I have to imagine this, and you're just fully in. Yeah. That's why I say that you are so aware and so attentive and so focused and so concentrated that you live full alive.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you talk about that because, yeah, I think for some of these things you're acting against, a screen or something, and they'll fill it in later, right? But what's happened more recently, and that I think was most prominently in The Mandalorian, is these visual effects walls where actors can actually see what it'll be like and act against that. And we did find out fairly recently that for the Star Trek series, including Discovery, they're going to start doing that. So I think that it'll be interesting to see how that maybe changes things. I know you can't say anything, but I hope you're in season 4, and it would be interesting if we bring you back and you have to act against one of these walls, what that's like. But yeah, I know you can't say anything, but I'm hopeful. They wouldn't have flown you from India for the season finale just to be there for a little bit if they weren't going to bring you back later, is what I think. But anyway.
No Captain Sahil, anyone?
Captain Sahil, yeah.
I think there is always a very noticeable, tangible change when things are actually happening and you're responding to what you just said, in terms of the screens will be actually filled with the things which are happening and which you see instead of imagining. That makes a huge difference. Great actors can respond to imagining things as well, but when the details are there and details give birth to a different being. I have seen this invariably everywhere. When I have to imagine an actor and talk, and there is the actor actually there looking into her eyes or his eyes when I speak, it's just so different. You would not miss it unless you watch the same scene without the actor and done and with the actor. And played back to back. Then only you'd understand, or you will feel the difference. The degree of engagement changes a lot. You'll be engaged without the actor, imagining the actor, and when you see the same scene, actor being present opposite, and I'm talking to the actor, and if you see both the scenes back to back, the degree of engagement is way more.
Yeah, and there's probably things that you can see in the actor's expression, body language, energy, all of that affects how you kind of feed back to that instead of just imagining what that would be.
Rather, I would say the degree of conviction within when, as an actor, and the degree of engagement from the audience side would be higher, way higher.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting.
So, aside from Life of Pi, what do you think has been either your personal favorite or most rewarding role that you've done?
There are a few films, at least 3, I would say, 4. One is a film which is a Norwegian film I acted in, and they gave me the Norwegian National Award for that, Best Actor National Award, called What Will People Say?, which is probably on Netflix or Amazon. I think you'll find it, which is one of my most favorite films. Very intense, extremely heartbreaking. The other film, which I would really recommend that if you find time to watch it, is called Hotel Salvation. It's a father-son story. I play the son and I take my father. My father wakes up in the morning and says, my time is up and I want to go and die. And in India, there's a tradition to go to this holy city called Varanasi, where there are places that you can check in, and till you die, you can stay there, but they only allow you 15 days. If you die within 15 days, you die, or you go back home and you come back later. So this is the father and son who goes there, and they can't afford a fancy place, so they're in this small tiny room, and everything which was unsaid, and all the accusation or grudges which were against each other, so those were sort of slowly, gently brought in, and I wouldn't say much about that, but if you have time, please do watch it. It's a beautiful film. And another film which is on a rickshaw puller that I did, called Pariksha, or Examination, which is also one of my most favorite films. Yeah.
I got a question about your acting, because you just mentioned that one of the films that is very rewarding for you is from Norway, a Norwegian film. Do you actively seek out roles across the globe, or do you find that these roles come to you?
I never seek out roles actively. I wish that things come to me, but that's a very, very inner wish, but I do not execute it, as a strategy or a practice outside. And it all happened. I did not, nor Life of Pi, nor Star Trek, the agent that I have in LA, she found me. I went to shoot for a film in Middle East somewhere, and she came with an Iraqi American actor, and she said, "Oh my God, I saw in Life of Pi. Who is your agent?" I said, "I have no agent." "Oh no, why?" I don't know. I got Life of Pi without an agent. Why should I have an agent? You know what I mean? So I said, "Would you mind if I represent you?" I said, "No, go ahead, do it." So it just organically happened, and I never did that. It wasn't in my radar at all. I always sought in my heart to work in amazing scripts. That is a very active seeking, for sure. Yeah.
Wonderful.
In the new age language, I might say that the universe conspired for me. Yeah. And I believe in that, yes. As a naive person, and actors, according to me, should be naive, gullible, and because
that is so interesting, because that's very different than we hear of Hollywood actors philosophies.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't paint everyone with the same brush, but I think there has tended to be certain savviness, maybe I should say, about things, or trying to go about things a certain way to cultivate certain things. But
that's also here in India. When I'm bombarded with so many proposals to sort of hire PR machinery and all that, I'm like, no, I can't do that. That's not why I act. As simple as that.
What a concept.
No, you'll get more money. Then I tell them, what if I'm happy with the money I have? What's your problem?
And they're probably like, what do you mean?
What are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, I'm happy. What's your problem? There's a beautiful story I tell them when they ask me that. The story of a fisherman. You know that story? So a fisherman is, leaning on a coconut tree in India and smoking, sort of a hand, what do you call that? The leaf cigarette made,
like hand
tobacco
rolled,
leaf, hand rolled cigarette, right? And so a businessman comes and asks him that, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm relaxing." "Oh, but it's just 8 o'clock in the morning. Why can't you go and catch some more fish?" No, I've done it already, so I don't need to. Go and catch some more fish. What would I do if I catch some more fish? "Oh, you can come and sell it and buy a bigger boat." And then the fisherman asks, then you can go back again with the bigger boat, catch some more fish, and blah, blah, blah. It continues like that. And then the fisherman asks again, "So what do I do at the end of the day?" "When you have lots of money, you relax." The fisherman says, "I'm already relaxing now." So that's what I tell them. I'm very relaxed. I'm happy with what money I have. I don't need to, So
that's a good place and a good idea to end this on. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. And we like to tell our listeners where they can find our guests online. So where can our guests find you online? And is there any current and upcoming work you'd like to mention?
Online, I am on Twitter _Adil Hussain. Same address, handle also on Instagram _Adil Hussain. All are, of course, this blue ticked verified, and Facebook Adil Hussain. I'm doing a film called Footprints on Water, which is an investigation on the people from Southeast Asia who go seeking better lives in the UK, who are undocumented immigrants. And this is a story of a father who had taken his daughter, his second wife, to the UK, and then they are undocumented illegal immigrants, and their daughter goes missing, and the father can't go to the police. And through that plot, the director-writer explores the misery and the trauma that these people go through. So it's just finished the first schedule in Birmingham, and now 3 days of shoot is left, which I'm here for in this particular state in southern part of the country in India, where they had gone from. So the flashback scenes are from here. What a beautiful, beautiful place that they belong to, and they went for a better life to the UK and what they have ended up in, which is a beautiful, very intense story again. They always cast me in intense roles. I don't know why. I'd like to do some comedy and, so...
Maybe next season Sahil will get some comedic lines. Who knows?
I would love to.
He's become a lieutenant. He doesn't have to wait anymore. He's relaxed. He can joke around.
Yeah, but there's no drama there, so
Okay.
You got to write that story though, where Tilly comes up to him to talk about wanting to be a captain and asks if you want to be a captain. And then you're like, why would I want to be a captain? I'm relaxed right now.
Totally. I don't need to take on this.
That's perfect.
I know.
That would be great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you
so
for
much.
joining
It's been an
us.
honor. Thank you. Yes.
That was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's totally mine. Thank you.
So, Justin, where can people find you when you're not waiting 40 years for me to ask you where people can find you?
Well, I have to say, first of all, it's remarkable for the 1-year-old me to anticipate this conversation all those years ago, because I'm only 41. But when I'm not trying to wrap my head around that, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at TrekFan4747, where I tweet about nothing but Star Trek. And you can find me hanging out in our Facebook group for the United Federation of Podcast, Federation Council Chambers, and hope you'll join us there.
All right. And Brandon, where can people find you once you get out of the situation with the boat and the tiger?
Well, the best place to find me right now is on Twitter at Brandon Matella. I'm still doing Franchise Fatigue with my buddy Zach. We got movies, remakes, and sequels over there. And once a month, I've got my podcast, Good Evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast. Our episodes on Christopher Nolan for House Lights are airing right now. But just because of my work situation right now, I'm not going to be able to join them for our next director. I think they're going to be covering Wes Anderson, but I got to miss out on that one, which is unfortunate. I enjoy him a lot. But so I'm going to do my best to join you guys here as often as I can coming up for Infinite Diversity and talking Star Trek. But
you know what? Tell your manager at work that this podcast is more important.
Yes, this is priorities. Yes, priorities.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, we pay you so much zero. It's so
zero.
Voluntary.
Yes.
We're
But we love
paid in exposure.
Chrissie,
that's what they always say.
Paying me an exposure, yes. Chrissie, where can people find you when you're not frantically trying to find Life of Pi on streaming services to watch?
Yes.
I feel shamed that we haven't seen it. I need to go out and see it.
I had kids in 2010. We had Aubrey, and I've seen like not a lot of new stuff since then. So it's not like I actively avoided these movies. I just
same here. I have well, my excuse is since 2010, I've just been so actively watching and rewatching Star Trek that there's no room for anything else in my mind. But no, I do watch other stuff now and again. But yeah, I really
I have no excuse. My sister's listening to this. She wanted to sit down and watch it with me a number of times when it came out, and I had other stuff going
Chrissie,
on. So.
You know what your homework is for the rest of today.
I do indeed. All right. So, of course, you can talk to me in the threads for our episodes and other shows in the Federation Council Chambers on Facebook. And I am on Twitter at The Goddess Livia. That's TheGoddesslivia, where I tweet about Star Trek history and leftist politics. You can also follow my work in history by liking the Facebook page my fellow historian partner Jason and I run, and that's History with the Szilagys. And Szilagyi is spelled Szilagyi's. And there we post some interesting history stories and links to our own work on our webpage, historywiththeszilagys.org. And William Shatner was on Ancient Aliens this week, so I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. It was just the other day, but you can look forward to me talking about that.
I think you should live tweet about watching that.
That's a good idea. I should. Make a note. Yes, I will.
Because that would be funny.
Tag Shatner in all of them.
Oh. Maybe.
Probably not recommending.
Depends on what I have to say.
It's your life. It's up to what you want to do.
Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in to Infinite Diversity. Thank you to our executive producers, Ken Tripp, Tony Robinson, and Zach Moore. And thank you to Zach Tripp for the wonderful theme music and Tony Robinson for the awesome show art. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, and please subscribe. And if you'd like to reach out, you can find the network on Twitter at UFPEarth or our show specifically at IDIC Podcast. You can also talk about any and all of our UFP podcasts in our Facebook group called the Federation Council Chambers, as we mentioned before. You can email us at infinitediversity@ufp.earth as well. And on our next episode, we don't know what we'll be talking about yet, but I guarantee it'll be interesting.
Hopefully big news. Big news.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what did the stockholders meeting.
So there's going to be, well, if people are still listening here, so Paramount Plus, they've made a huge deal in the run-up to it launching on March 4th to replace CBS All Access, and there's an investors call on February 24th they're trying to make a big deal about. So if there is big news there, hopefully we'll just talk about it. Maybe
and this is going to be coming out after they've made those announcements already and whatnot. Like, so we're recording this on Valentine's Day right now.
That's true.
And all that. So, yeah.
Time travel. That is true. So we might have already done the one with the news, so or not. We don't know. Life is uncertain.
Let's hope. All right. Well, until then, peace and long life.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.